Hello everybody, so we're working on ratios and that's going to be standard 6.RP.1 and in the textbook it's lesson 2 in chapter 1, so that's on page 19 that it begins. So if you wanted to look in your textbook at the same time as writing the notes, you can always do that. Alright, so what we need to do is we need to be writing down these notes as we go. So whenever I give something to you or show something to you or I write something down, it's a good idea for you to write it down in your own words, in your own shorthand. If you want to abbreviate things, that's fine. But I need to be able to look at your paper and know what I taught you. And you should be able to show your parents and they would be able to say, oh, okay, I get it now. I see your notes. If it's just a bunch of random jumbly kind of writing, you're not going to get credit for the notes and you're not going to be able to read them later. So they're not going to be very helpful. Alright, so here we go. Lecture over. So it says to write a ratio in simplest form. And there are many different ways to compare amounts or quantities. And a ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division. A ratio 2 red paper clips to 6 blue paper clips can be written in 3 ways. So the important thing that you get from this is that a ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division. And that there's 3 different ways to write this. Okay, they can be written 3 different ways. With the word to, with a colon, or with a fraction bar. And the fraction bar is also a division symbol. So keep that in mind. Alright, so as with fractions, ratios are often expressed in simplest form. So if you were to have this kind of problem where it's 2 over 6, you should be able to simplify that like you would a fraction and make it 1 over 3 by dividing the top and the bottom by 2, and 1 to 3 would be your new ratio. And that's a simplified ratio. You should always simplify your ratios. Unless it's asking you for equivalent ratios, which we'll do in a couple days. Alright, so example number 1 says write the ratio in simplest form that compares the number of red paper clips to the number of blue paper clips. So what I'd like for you to do is write this, red paper clips to the number of blue paper clips. And we're writing the ratio. So write the ratio in simplest form, big key thing there. And so we need to count them up and see what we have for each one. Now, it would be a good idea, let's go like this, red to blue. And I'm putting my little colon there. And underneath the red, I'm going to count how many red paper clips I have, and I'm going to write that down here. So I've got 1, 2 red paper clips. And for blue, I'm going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 blue paper clips. So my ratio can be written as 2 to 6, except that it wants me to also identify it as simplest form. So I know that both 2 and 6 can be divided by 2, and that I would then have 1 to 3 as my new ratio. And here they show you how you would do that using fraction form. That you would divide the top and the bottom by the same number, and you would come down to 1 over 3. So it says to write the ratio as a fraction, then simplify. Now this is the next key thing that I want to make sure that you write down. It wants you to explain the meaning. So I want you to write down explain, and then I want you to copy this. This means that for every 1 red paper clip, there are 3 blue paper clips. This means that for every 1 paper clip, there are 3 blue paper clips. And we're going to talk about that, but I want you to write that down. These are going to be key terms that you're going to be using very often, quite often, for explaining ratios. And so I need you to make sure that you understand that. So it's for every, there are. That's what our term is for writing a ratio. There's another way to write a ratio, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So it says write the ratio in simplest form that compares the number of suns to the number of moons, and then explain its meaning. So if you want to draw this on your thing, you can do a half moon if you'd like to for all your moons, and then your beautiful suns. I know mine looks like a crazy looking spider. So go ahead and draw this. Copy how many moons there are, copy how many suns there are. And then I want you to write your ratio with suns to moons. That's the order that they want you to write your ratio. So I want you to write the ratio in simplest form for suns to moons. I'd like you to pause the video now and write this all down and solve this, and then when you come back I'll give you the answer. Pause now. Alright, so you should have 4 suns to 6 moons. But it did ask you for simplest form, so hopefully you then made it by dividing by 2 on each side a 2 to 3 ratio. The second part of it now wants us to explain the meaning. If you've not yet written that down in words, I want you to pause the video and explain the meaning using that last example for how many suns there are to moons. Pause the video now if you haven't yet done this. The way that we would explain this is we would say for every 2 suns there are 3 moons. So using our key terms, my doorbell in the background, sorry. For every there are. For every there are. That's how we explain